Hi, this is Steve with the Triangle 5-1 Ranch. This is a very important day for Ember, whether she knows it or not. Today we put the first ride on her. Today we start building a lifetime of habits. Right now she's a clean slate as far as habits under saddle are concerned. To give her the best opportunity, we strive to get as much correct as we can. To try and keep surprises in the future to a minimum, we expose her to as much as we can the first day. I'll get back to that thought as we go through this process. For now, let me tell you what we've done so far. We led her out of the corral over to the tack-up area, groomed her and saddled her. Now we've led her over to the round pen and tightened her cinch for the second time. As you have been watching on the video, I have been doing just a simple exercise of moving her around on the lead line. I'm just making sure she is still in the same place mentally as I left her yesterday when we put the saddle on for the first time. I tightened the cinch for the third and final time. I want to make sure she can move in all directions without effort. In backing, I felt that her feet were a little bit sticky. I decided to work on this for a moment. When I back her on the lead line, I hold the line just below the halter. I hold it so that my thumb is pointed down. That puts my elbow in a position where if she were to violently swing her head, it would absorb the impact instead of my head. I keep backing her till I feel her feet come loose and her head bends at the pole. I work on this until I feel that I've got some improvement. These are the warm-up exercises I do whenever I'm going to ride a horse. I do not lunge them into exhaustion. I want them to have lots of energy, just controlled. Now I make sure she can pivot on her hindquarters without sticky feet. I do it in both directions. I already got her to pivot on the forehand or just simply on track when I was circling her. I keep getting her to step over until her outside front foot crosses over in front of her inside front foot. I very rarely lunge my horses. This is probably the last time I send her in circles at the canter for a long time. I'm just making sure of her frame of mind. She seems to be having some difficulty going into the canter. If she can't do it with just the saddle, I don't want to get on her back and ask for it. I keep working on it until she finally canters a few steps and then comes to a stop. I ask her to hook on and give her a break. It is my feeling that the primary reason horses will buck with a rider is that they feel they can't move forward, but they are being driven to go. So out of fear, frustration, or anger, they explode and buck. If I teach my horse that the very best first option is to move forward, then I'll probably be in a good position to not get bucked off. I keep asking her to canter, only this time in the other direction. If you watch closely, you'll see that when she does finally take a few steps of the canter, it is in the wrong lead. That has me a bit concerned. It indicates that she is not fully focused on what is going on. Yesterday, when she first had the saddle on, she took the correct lead in both directions. This is not a lesson in lunging, so when she finally gives me the correct lead for a few steps, I decide that is enough. I don't want her to become frustrated. There is a slight pause here while I consider if I should continue with the groundwork or begin with the process of teaching her about a rider mounting. I decide to move on to that lesson. A habit I try to teach my horses is that just before I stick my foot in the stirrup, I shake the saddle. This is a signal to prepare to take my weight on the stirrup. Of course, this is the first time she's felt this, so has no idea what I'm trying to tell her. As time goes on, she'll begin to prepare herself when she feels this. I throw the excess lead line over her neck, pull most of the slack out of the lead line on her left side, so if I need to step down and disengage her hind end, I can easily do it. Place my foot in the stirrup so that the toe is not poking her in the ribs, and then grab a handful of mane with my left hand, the cantle with my right, and haul myself up, trying to push my weight up over the saddle so I don't pull her over. While I'm still leaning over her, I pet her on the neck and rump, jiggle the stirrup and lariat that hangs on the right side. I then lower myself down and lead her off to let her relax. I never ever get on a horse that is moving. That is a great way to get hurt. So when she starts walking off, I step down and pull her head towards me and disengage her hindquarters. Chances are she would have stopped moving without doing that. Probably the reason she moved was because I was a little sloppy and pulled her off balance, and she was trying to rebalance herself. It was a good opportunity to show her not to move. I think she was shifting around there in preparation of being pulled to the left by my weight. I waited for her to stop moving and let her off. This time when I shook the saddle, I gave her ample time to shift her weight around and get prepared to take my weight, and she did stand still as I pulled myself up. I felt like there was good improvement on that try and decided to move on. I like to be able to mount my horses from either side. There are situations you run into where it is convenient to mount on the right side. An example would be on steep terrain where the horse is standing with the downhill side on the left. Today is the easiest day to teach her this. For those who have never tried to mount your horse on the right, you'll be surprised to learn that they are around another hand taller on the right, and it is much more difficult to get your foot in the stirrup. She felt to me like she was less comfortable with me working on the right side than she was on the left. Maybe this was because I was far more awkward on the right, but I continued to work on it. Once I got some improvement, I moved on. Some respected horsemen just use the lead line without tying it into makeshift reins. When they need to change directions, they just flip the lead line over the horse's head and use it as a single rein. I prefer to tie it to the halter and have reins on either side. I don't start out with a bit because if things get exciting, I don't want to accidentally cause pain to the horse's mouth. I would not want to teach them to resist the bit on the first ride. Once they get used to carrying weight and are good at giving to the halter, I'll move on to the bit. I make sure she can give her head to the halter in both directions, then do a final untracking and mount her. I mount the same way I do with all my horses. In other words, I'm not being ginger about it. I'm respectful as always, but not trying to be especially quiet. I want her to know I'm there. Once on, I sit calmly for a moment, then dismount to let her know I don't intend to live there the rest of her life. You could say that this is the first ride, but we will continue. I mount for the second time and give her some time to relax. I always wait a few seconds after mounting a horse to ask her to move forward. That way I'm not teaching the horse to walk off as soon as I'm in the saddle. They've learned to wait for my cue. It's hard to see in this video, but I also had positioned her so that there was plenty of space in front of her. If she feels confined, it could cause her to not want to move, which could get me bucked off. For right now, I only want to keep her moving forward. I don't try to direct her because she is still learning to move with my weight. I only direct her when she gets stuck facing the corral panel. When she runs us into the corral panels, I reach over with my outside hand and push us away from the panel. I try not to use the reins just yet. I bump with my feet when she stops. I stop bumping when she goes. I'm trying to get her to just keep moving at the walk. In retrospect, I could have done a lot more petting as she was moving around. You don't want a green horse to forget you're there, then suddenly remember and get scared and buck. I ride with a night latch. A night latch is a leather strap that wraps around the gullet of the saddle. I keep mine on the left side of the saddle horn because I have a lariat on the right side. When I'm riding a green horse, I hold on to the night latch or the lariat depending. If the horse begins to buck, I'm already holding on and there is less of a chance I'll get thrown. If it starts bucking really hard, I'll reach with the hand not already holding on and grab the back of the saddle and hold on to the cantle. There is a lip on the cantle of my saddle called a Cheyenne roll. That gives me a firm grip. A person can then drive the horse forward with their legs and teach it to move forward and not buck. That may sound uncowboy-like, but I'm trying to give my horses the best start I can. If I get bucked off, that is not only traumatic for me, but it is traumatic for the horse. I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I just want my horses to have a good start. I'm slowly increasing the amount of directing I'm doing, bumping with my legs to keep her moving. You'll notice as I'm directing her, it is more like I'm leading her from the saddle than directing her with the reins. It feels to me like she understands that far better for now. As we get more experience, I'll direct her with the reins more and more. I do a sort of a one-rein stop here. I probably could have driven her hind end over so that she disengaged correctly. I accepted it at the moment. It felt like she was trying, so I let it go. If you disagree with me, put it in the comments. We'll all learn from it. I'm starting to become annoyed at all the bumping I'm doing. So I do another one-rein stop, this time on the other side from the last. I get down and get a makeshift quirt. This is not a real quirt, it's just a string wrapped around my wrist. It is not nearly as harsh as it may look because it is a very light piece. It is mostly the looks that motivate. Well, I want her to not be inhibited about moving forward. She felt to me like she was going into a flight mode that would end in her being scared and maybe start to balk, so I gently shut her down. I'm interested if others agree with this. If you agree or disagree, please put it in the comments and maybe we'll all learn something. There was our first trot where she was in control of her emotions. I felt that just because it was only a few steps, it was still very successful. I'm trying to build on our success. I ask for longer and longer trots in both directions. I'm also trying to teach her the halt from my seat. Notice that I stopped her in the middle of the round pen. Some horses have problems with going to the center, so I'm beginning to teach her that the center is a safe place. did another one range stop, but she didn't want to give me her head, so I'm trying to get the brace out of her neck. She finally lets down a little, so I release her. I then ask her for her head again. She again gets real bracy, so I try and get rid of the brace. It took me a minute or two, but I finally got a lope/canter. It was only for a few steps, but we'll build on that. That's 3 times going to the left. So now I'll switch directions and try to go to the right. She's at least taking the correct lead. I started out going to the left because as a general rule, that is the easiest direction for a horse. Make the right thing easy. I was out of camera view there, but I did get a few steps at the lope, so I'm counting that as twice. I come around and get another lope, so that is 3 times going to the right. Today we got on Ember for the first time. I've walked her directing her feet. She has done some trotting in both directions, also directing her feet. Finally, we've loped in both directions. I've done crude one-rein stops on both sides, and I've stopped her by blocking forward progress with the reins, signaling her with my C. I think she has done well for her first day riding and think this is a good place to stop. I let her stand a few seconds before I dismount and then step off her. Thank you for watching.